Hello and welcome back to Drawing Right. This is episode 3. If you're new to my channel, I'm Iris from Iris Impressions Art. I'm a mixed media artist with a very raw, quirky and non-realistic art style, and I'm teaching myself to draw using the book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. In this drawing session, first I finished up the exercises from chapter 4, which is the upside down drawing chapter. I chose the Spiderman drawing because I'm a big geek and I thought it would be fun. So first off, you see me create a bounding box to make sure I'm working to the same scale as the example. Then I started methodically working through the drawing bit by bit. I feel like this is the best strategy to get things down accurately, especially in terms of line directions and shapes. But I did find that the drawback is that if you get it slightly wrong, it just keeps snowballing and you do end up with mistakes further down the line that are really hard to fix unless you start over. If I were approaching a drawing right side up, I think I would sketch in the bigger planes first and then fill in the details. I think that would ensure more accuracy in terms of overall scale and relationships between the different parts. I decided against doing that though, for the reason that I didn't want to start labeling things in my head like, oh, now I'm sketching out the torso, or now I'm sketching out the head, and then ending up in L mode. Looking at the smaller details definitely makes it easier to stay in R mode, whereas bigger picture looking feels more like an L mode activity at this point. Maybe that'll change, I'm not sure. The drawing was uneventful, and I have to say I found it very, very boring. It really brought home to me that you're copying something, and although the skill is quite satisfying to practice looking at the result, you're not really creating something from your own imagination, at least not in the way that I experience when I'm working on a painting or an art journal spread. I'm really struggling with this. I didn't experience it as much with the first upside down drawing that you saw in episode 2. I think the line work was a lot more interesting and varied in that one. I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things where you have to get through the boring bits to build the necessary skills, but I'm not sure. I just find it really hard to motivate myself if the activity is boring. And I also actually believe that you learn more when you're feeling excited and engaged rather than just going through the motions. So the next chapter was really interesting to me. It's about childhood symbols, and it gets you to think about how you used to draw certain things as a child. You're invited to think back to your childhood landscape, the drawings and the elements that you did over and over again and that always looked pretty much the same. When I first started reading this chapter, I felt really niggly and like I couldn't remember much. I couldn't really put my finger on my mood. The book mentions that around 10% of people don't recall their childhood landscapes at all, usually due to like internalized negative experiences around drawing at that stage of life. It actually took me a few days sitting with the knowledge and rereading the chapter a couple of times for the drawing elements to come back to me. I have no recollection of drawing a lot or experiencing pleasure from drawing at that time. I only remember the sense of inadequacy and comparing myself to others, like my friends were much better drawers than me. They would get praise. I wouldn't. It was all childhood trauma stuff. Once the elements came back to me, though, the drawing itself was easy. I mean, obviously, technically, but also emotionally, I didn't really struggle anymore at that point. I actually enjoyed recreating this, and I found it really healing to connect with the disappointed girl inside me and being able to approach her with a more motherly and adult mind and feel kind of encouraging and impressed with the drawing, the way I would feel about my own kids' drawings. I'm always looking for the bits that are interesting, the bits that show how they see the world, the way they choose to express themselves, and it has very little to do with drawing skills or realism. And I think that is something that if you feel so inadequate as a child, you don't have that view of yourself and your drawings. It takes your rational adult mind and, I don't know, like your love for someone else and their expression that doesn't have anything to do with technical skill. It takes that to be able to connect with that in yourself as well, I think. I hope that makes sense. My favorite parts of the drawing are the little details of the apple with the little worm inside it and the bird poo. Very childlike and also very humorous. I recognize that child and I realize it's still me, just a bit older. So, what about you? How did you get on with the childhood drawing? If any thoughts or insights came up for you, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. I really hope you enjoy the video. Please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!